Welcome everybody to the Geek Dad Report Game of Thrones coverage. Tonight we are going to be covering episode 4, The Spoils of War. You are warned, it is going to be a full spoiler. If you have not watched it, you definitely, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you definitely need to go watch it and then come back here and watch it because we are going to talk about all the glory and dragon fire that was The Spoils of War tonight.
Daenerys is officially what everybody wants to ride on the back of a dragon and just burn burn hundreds of people at a time.
Yeah, well, before we get into that, I am Brian West, King of the West, father of 2 dragons, caster of the pods, fan of the Hawks, and generally a nice guy. And that beautiful man over there is Ryan.
Yes. I also go by Big Bruiser, if that really,
No, you gotta say it like, I am the bruiser of the bigs.
I am the bruiser of the bigs.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Alright, well, whatever. But anyway, like Ryan said, we are gonna start tonight.
We're still equals, though.
Yeah, sure we are. Ow!
What is Ghost doing here?
Well, I figured since Ghost...
We haven't seen Ghost in, 2 seasons.
Yeah, I figured since Game of Thrones was not going to have Ghost on their show, we were going to have Ghost on our show. So welcome the new member of the Geek Dad Report Game of Thrones show, Ghost.
See, HBO doesn't cost that much.
No, it doesn't. Look, I mean, we got John here, but, John's always here.
Yeah.
Ow! There we go. Ghost. All right, I'll try not to make the annoying howling noises. But to Ryan's point a minute ago, we are going to start off this episode in the only way that I know how. Holy fucking Dragon Balls.
Yeah. Well,
my God. Can I just say real quick?
It's really the only thing everybody I've talked to, it's like the first thing everybody wants to talk about.
Dude.
Because this is the shit that we've been waiting since the beginning. Since Dany got dragons. Everybody's like, I want to see someone riding a dragon.
Well, we got a little bit of teaser of Dragon. What was it? The end of season 5 when she rode off in the dragon because the Sons of the Harpy were going to kill her, and then she got stranded with the Dothraki again. So we got a little bit of a chance to see what Drogon could do, right? Just a tiny bit.
Well, just remember
that was nothing.
That Drogon was like 1/10 of his current size.
Yeah, dude. He was the size of a 747 in this. We had heard that he was going to be big, but when Jaime and Bron, they got their armies ready and they see the Dothraki coming and they're all like, all right, let's do this. And all of a sudden they look up. The look on their faces when the mist and all of a sudden this dragon comes was fucking priceless. I mean, so I had a viewing party. I had a bunch of people here, and I actually got my wife to watch this episode. She's never watched Game of Thrones, but me and my friends kind of guilt her into it. And so the whole first part of this episode, she's kind of playing on her phone and whatever. All of a sudden, the dragon comes in. I look over, and she's sitting on the edge of her seat just glued to the television, right?
Yeah.
And we're all like, we see him fly in, and we're like, yeah! Everyone in the room is shaking their fists, and we're just like, woohoo! It was... By the end of the episode, first of all, fuck you, Game of Thrones, for ending it the way that you did. It was awesome, but damn it. When Jaime's floating into the bottom of the river that is somehow 900 feet deep.
Well, it went from the horse could run across it.
Yeah,
and then Dickon hit him into the Mariner's Trench part of the river.
Well, apparently, but... Then it fades to black. I got this blanket on my legs. I literally grab it and I start slamming it down. I'm like, no, damn you, no, don't end like this. I got to know what happens next. But back to the Sweet Dragon, to your point. This is what we have all been waiting for 7 seasons. And we finally got it, and it did not disappoint. I mean, this was probably the best 15 minutes I've ever seen on the show. And I love Jon Snow, and 2 of my favorite episodes, Battle of the Bastards and Hardhome, both had him. It was kind of nice to see somebody besides Jon have an epic fight scene that was just unbelievable.
Well, and remember, this was the short episode. So if you were watching it and when it's over, you're like, God damn, that didn't seem like it took that long.
No, it did not.
It was. I definitely had that feeling at the very end of it.
And
but
kudos to the fight choreographers. Can't speak tonight. Kudos to them and the stunt coordinators. They set a record for lighting the most people on fire at one time. 20 stuntmen were lit on fire. And a lot of times people are switching to special effects now when they do the fire scenes, and they just don't look real. They literally took 20 guys and lit them on fire and watched them run around. And you can tell when you're watching this, like the horror of this scene, besides the battle, we'll talk about that in a second, with just the actual fight scenes, which were amazing between the Lannisters and the Dothraki. But the dragon effects, Dragoon is literally blowing fire and turning people to ashes. And horses are stomping on them and their ashes are exploding. It was just the ferocity of that scene and the pure horror of this giant plane blowing fire on people was just, you captured, it was so intense. It was hard to breathe while you're watching this because it was so intense. And
what was really nice was that you knew it wasn't a real dragon, but...
Yeah. What? Wait a minute. Whoa. Go back a second. Are you telling me that they do not have dragons in real life?
That's what they want us to think.
Oh, I knew it.
But it seems so seamless between the CGI and the actual, the people on the scene. It's about as close. It's better than a lot of movies that I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest. Well, and just that scene, just when everything comes in, and like you said, when it breathes, and how it explodes on all the people, it's so seamless. With how the transition of it was.
And even after he gets wounded, when he kind of swoops down and he's hovering and then he just breathes fire. Everything about the effects was just amazing. And honestly, what struck me too, I don't know if it struck you that way, but the whole cinematic quality, like you said, it's better than we've seen in a movie, but it's almost from the very beginning. So when it started showing the initial, everybady's kind of right outside of well, I don't know how close they were to King's Landing, but they were pretty close to King's. I think you see King's Landing in the back, in the distance. But just from that point, the hills, everything, the scenery looked like you were watching a movie, right? I don't know. I got a 4K TV, so maybe that helped too. But it just looked gorgeous. This big, huge, open kind of plains valley area. All the everyone's lined up. The armor looks great. Everything just looked super high quality. And then, they start feeling the Dothraki, they feel the ground shaking, and they're like, okay, there's a battle coming. And just the way they line up, and it has the overhead shot of all the formations, it looked like something out of Braveheart, or one of these, these...
You can see the definite difference in fighting styles, because the Dothraki, they're like, all right, everyone just fucking jump on your horse, and... we're going to charge right at him.
Oh, my God. And the way that the Dothraki fought... We've seen a lot of people in Westeros fight, but we haven't had a chance to see, an actual Dothraki army coming in and doing anything. Yeah. Dude, how about the one guy who was on his horse just swinging double swords, just, decapitating people left and right?
Well, they're not swords. They're fucking giant sky things. It's just...
They were just massacring people. And how about that one when Bron, Bron and that one Dothraki, I don't know, super warrior, are about to... square off, and they're charging each other. Bron's trying to throw daggers, it's not working, and he's about to swing, and the guy swings down and cuts the leg off his horse. I'm like, It was so violent.
Bron, all his coins fall to the ground. I was like, oh, Bron, you lost your money.
So since you brought up Bron, I want to talk a little bit about Bron in this. Bron is great as always. Bron is one of my favorite side characters. I don't consider him one of the, alpha, main characters, but he's been one of the series' best kind of secondary characters, and I really thought this was his episode, that he was his exit, right? You kind of got the feeling, if I had one complaint about this, I was kind of bummed that nobody died, right? Not because I wanted somebody to die, but it felt like this was a moment. It was such a grand fight and grand, just everything, the music, the effects, the horror of it all. Yeah. And Bron and Jamie both had these great heroic kind of moments where if you go out in those moments, you're just like, God, you're going to think about this character forever. There are ways that characters can die where they just die in a way that you will remember them for forever, right? And Bron seemed like he was having one of those moments. And so, even though he didn't die in this, at least not that we're aware of, I mean, his last act that we saw him do was to save Jaime at the last moment. I mean, Bron gets the MVP in this, in this episode for me, because literally he's doing everything. He saves Jaime multiple times. Then he gets the scorpion and manages to shoot the dragon, so everyone at least has a shot.
Here's my problem with the scorpion part, though. So he just he'd never used it before.
And he's just
or has he been? You can just hop up and I'm just gonna crank these things. All right, I got it aimed.
Well, hey,
yep, that's good.
He's becoming the archer, though, because I mean, remember the Battle of Blackwater? He's the guy who shot the arrow, the lighted arrow, to light the Blackwater.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean,
the thing that part bugged me. It was like all of a sudden he's like a master at shooting that thing. But
well, did you get the okay? I felt like they weren't going to kill the main dragon already, right? But did you get the sense of like when he's bearing down on Bron, there was like this dread that something bad is about to happen, right? Either Bron's going to die or the dragon's going to die. It was so, like I said, the whole thing was so intense. To have nobody die, that was kind of my.
Did the dragon just get grazed, or did it like actually hit?
No, it stuck right in his shoulder.
So it's stuck in his shoulder.
It's stuck in his shoulder. Now, okay, real quick. It's called the Scorpion, right? This is the first time we've heard them name this weapon. Do we think that this is poison?
Well,
is this going to have lasting effects?
A scorpion is a medieval weapon.
Yes,
so
but
it's the same construction and everything as a normal scorpion. It's like the stuff that they used during the Roman era and like in the Battle of Constantinople and stuff like that. So typically they weren't poisoned, but you never know.
Do you think the ramifications is going to be that we know that we can hurt a dragon, so they're going to have a lot of these in the future?
So what, are just going to rub like any poison they can find on it? Like maybe this will hurt a dragon.
So my question is twofold. One, do you think the arrow that hits Drogon is poisoned already, or do you think in the future they will be poisoned, or this is just going to be a confirmation that you can hurt these guys, and
it's
King's
more just
Landing's
a confirmation
just going to have them all over the walls.
No, it's just more of a confirmation that you can hurt them, because there's no way to figure out dragon physiology as to what will be poison will work against it. So I highly doubt that they're poisoned, but
he's so big, I could see a scenario.
This is something that they couldn't do against Aegon. There's nothing.
That's true.
Know about dragons when Aegon.
That was the cool thing, is we've heard so much about Aegon. Like, it was great to actually see a dragon rider on a just beast of a dragon coming in and just fucking everything up, right?
Yeah, and now you kind of see how it was for them.
You see,
and they actually had something to fight back. So just think if they'd had no scorpion.
And they had and back in the day they had 3 dragon riders. Can you imagine if Daenerys had 2 other people riding those other dragons? Wouldn't even be. Now you see how the Targaryens were able to pretty easily conquer Westeros and be the rulers for a long time.
Yeah, I thought maybe Tyrion would become one, but I'm really starting to doubt that now.
I'm starting to get the feeling that Tyrion is going to die maybe this season.
I don't want that. He definitely did. I told you he didn't. He's not a military strategic.
Well, okay, before we get into Tyrion, because I think it ties into why I think Tyrion's going to die, let's talk about Jaime for a minute. This was another great. Jaime's become one of the great characters on this show, and not only has he had one of the biggest, kind of turnaround story arcs where he goes from just a straight villain to, yes, he's still having sex with his sister, and you're never going to justify that ever. But he's become a much better person, right? Even to the point when, I thought it was funny when the Tarly commander, I forget his name, but Sam's dad.
Yeah.
When he's like, you know what? They're kind of slacking in the back. I find a good whipping gets him back into shape, and Jaime's like, well, let's give him a warning first.
They did just fight in a battle.
He's a much nicer guy, and even just like him and Bron, he gives Bron all this money, and Bron kind of slaps him in the face a little bit. It's like, well, where's my castle? And he's like, come on, dude, I just gave you a giant bag of money.
Oh, and did you see kind of like how gloomy Jaime's become? Because he's like, there's going to be plenty of castles for you to pick from. And land to pick from when the war is over. He's like, you're going to have your pick.
I love the continual straightforwardness of characters this season. Like, Bron's like, how about that castle? It's empty. And and he's like,
just think of the upkeep. Come on,
And besides, you can't guard it. what if Daenerys shows up tomorrow and just takes it? Then what? You know?
Yeah.
But,
well, and did you notice how, like, at the beginning of the episode, when Cersei's talking to the Iron Bank guy, I know we're kind of jumping on our notes, but when Cersei's talking to the bank guy, she said the gold's going to be hand delivered, and Jaime was the one that was in charge of all that, but he didn't go back into King's Landing to deliver the gold.
Yeah,
he stayed outside, and so I'm kind of wondering if Jaime maybe doesn't like want to spend all his time in King's Landing with Cersei. I think he might be like he might be starting to feel like he's more needs to get.
I do think
he just needs to do like what needs to get done, and then he might just get the fuck out.
I definitely think the conversation last week with Olenna, Tully, or not Tully.
Oh right, because he's got to go and tell her. She still doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
He might
and
not be wanting to.
On top of that, I think it shook him because she was like, you have to get away from Cersei. She's a virus, right? And I think he's realizing, like, hey, my relationship with my sister, in essence, has cost me all my children. My sister wife has gone insane, and she is a terrible person. I think there's a dawning of him. I really feel, kind of to jump what we talked about a minute ago with Jaime, you know, appearing to possibly drown. I don't think he's drowning at all. I think he's going to make it. But I just think this is reinforcing the theory that he's going to kill his sister at some point. He's going to be the Kingslayer one more time, and he'll be the Queenslayer, and he's gonna kill her. But I think we're seeing a lot of steps of, like, to your point, he did not go into the city. He made sure the gold got there, which fucking torpedoed my theory. I was so pissed when I heard the Tarly come in and is like, the gold has made its way to King's Landing. I'm like, damn it! Just seconds away from the dragon melting it.
I don't know. I wanted Dany to come and steal the gold.
Oh, it was this close to being right.
I wanted them to be fucked with the Iron Bank, and then just have like something, you know, like the bank. Like, well, we're seizing your castle now.
Yeah, but I think here's the problem. I think if you get the gold, if you melt the gold or steal the gold, literally Cersei's toast, right? She not only will have her armies decimated, the Iron Bank will be coming after her. She's just a goner. So they had to have that money to continue her story. But back to Jaime a little bit. I think you're right. I think Jaime is once again on a path. He knows he's on the wrong side of things, but he's a Lannister. It's his duty. This is his home. He really truly believes, like he said last week, that once everything's done, his sister will not be crazy, and the kingdom can. I really think he gives a shit about people in the kingdom, about Westeros. He wants to see. You know, he killed the Mad King because the Mad King was going to kill everybody, right? I think ultimately at his core, Jaime is a good person. I do think he's going to die in this series just because, if nothing else, because he has sex with his sister. But yeah, I do think he's going to go out as a hero. Maybe not everyone's going to see him as a hero, but he will die a hero's death. And for a minute, it looked like he was going to get that hero's death because when he's standing there looking at the horror, all his men are on fire or dying or getting murdered, the Dothraki, and he sees his opportunity with Daenerys. Okay, first of all, Daenerys, you may be a badass dragon rider, but you are a dumbass commander. Like, why would you, first of all, not wear any armor riding your dragon? Number two, why would you be like, I'm just going to go right in the middle of the battle, hop off my dragon and try and pull the spear out?
Dude, if you're riding on a fucking dragon, you don't need armor. Your dragon is your armor.
She does have a little bit of invincibility complex going on, which I worry could bite her in the ass eventually.
You just need a good windbreaker.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably...
okay. As long as you have it's Dragoon, right? I'm saying it right? I don't want like a million people telling me I'm wrong. Hey, you know what? Actually, if we had a million people watch this and you all want to tell me I'm wrong, that'd be amazing. But Dragoon, when you have him, he's kind of a badass, right? Like, I liked how he saw Jaime coming. He's like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna happen. But that was a pretty epic moment when Jaime grabs that spear. Like, he sees his opportunity. He's like, I may die, but I can fucking end this shit right now. And he tries to take it, and Tyrion is up on this thing watching this unfold, and he's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Flee, you fool. He's like, you know.
Well, and as he gets closer, he's like, no, you fucking idiot, don't do it. Yeah. And then, you know.
I like the look. The look on Tyrion's face is like, during the whole course of the battle, is a lot of sadness, because these are his people. I mean, these are all Lannisters and stuff like that. And, you know, you can see And when the Dothraki guy looks at him, he says, "Your people don't know how to fight." And Tyrion's just like,
it's half sad, but half like, I wish I could punch you in the face.
Yeah, it's like breaking his heart,
Yeah. Well, and I think you're seeing possibly maybe why his strategy was what it was. He doesn't believe he knows his sister's crazy, but these are his people, and he doesn't want them all to die, right? So his strategy to take Westeros involved the least amount of casualties possible, and now he's seeing his worst fears. His people he grew up with being lit on fire, and he's seeing his brother who looks like he's about to just die by this dragon. How cool was it though when you see the face of the dragon opens his mouth and you get to see the fire start coming out of his neck, and literally last second save by MVP Bron is the only reason why Jaime's still alive.
Was it Bron or was it Dickens?
There was a lot of people who thought it was Dickens, but it's been confirmed that it was Bron who saved his life yet again. Okay. So, but I have a feeling Bron could be maybe dead. The rumor is that this was actually almost like, the reason why it was short is it's almost like the first part of a 2-part episode. It's the same director coming back for next week, so we're going to probably see the fallout. It is possible that maybe Bron was mortally wounded saving Jaime.
Mortally burned to crisps?
Yeah, I just wish that if they're going to kill Bron, if he does die next week, I wish he just would have done it this week, because it was so epic what happened. That fight was so fucking epic. It just would have been amazing if he pushed Jaime out of the way and then takes the full force of the blast himself. He goes out like just a boss, like Bron the boss. He could have been like OG Bron. But
I want him to have his castle and his hide maiden lady, and
yeah, he's never getting that. Let's be honest. When you saw his money fall, I think that was like a metaphor for everything. All his hopes and dreams just gone, right? Like he's just. Like Game of Thrones does. Everyone has all these great little plans, clever little men with their clever little plans, and they all fail, right?
Yeah.
But we definitely have to see Daenerys be a dragon. Oh, so what I was going to say is with Tyrion, so here's my theory with Tyrion. Watching Tyrion, I mean, Daenerys in this episode made a point to point out that maybe Tyrion's loyalties weren't quite all to her, that even though he was committed to her, maybe he wasn't as committed to seeing his own family fail, right? And maybe that's been part of the problem. And I think you got a glimpse of that here. I mean, as much as Tyrion doesn't believe in his sister, he still very much loves his brother and cares about the people that he grew up with, right? So here's my theory. My theory is that I think the Thraki forces are going to pull Jaime out of the lake, or Jaime's going to find a way to swim out and they're going to capture him yet again.
Swim out through the 600-foot deep.
Yeah, the 10,000 foot, 10,000 leagues under the sea. But I think you're going to get a reversal scenario of what you had in season 3, where you have Jaime who's going to be, basically doomed to death, and I think you could have Tyrion who lets him go, right? Yeah. And maybe I think that letting him go, because Daenerys has made a point to say, anybody who betrays me, you're out.
Yeah.
So you could see a scenario where Tyrion repays his own brother for letting him go, right? And it's going to cost him his life. I could see that, because it almost seems like Tyrion's story arc has come to an end, come to a head, right?
I don't want him to go, though.
Well, nobody wants him to go. I can't even imagine Game of Thrones without Peter Dinklage, but we are starting to get to the end game where we are going to start losing some major. There's only 9 episodes left, and we are going to lose some. I predict like everybody but maybe 5 major characters are going to die.
So we still have 3 episodes this season.
We have
right?
3 this season, and then we have 6 next season. So we got 9 total left. Now, mind you, the finale this year is going to be an hour and a half. So I mean, that's like an episode and a half. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts about my little theory with Tyrion?
Well, I thought the Dothraki stuff was pretty awesome. Just seeing like whenever I had the soundbar on pretty good. Mm-hmm. So whenever like the dragon fire like hit the ground, it kind of like rumbled and shook, and just like the cart that was just full of loot that's just on fire with the horse, running away. But Jaime just looking around, just watching everything falling apart.
Well, what do you think about my theory about Tyrion, though? Do you think that had some legs to it, or do you think that's just...
I think it has some legs based on the fact that they seem to be doing a lot of full circle stuff.
Yeah.
So like somebody that did something in the beginning, it's coming back against them or it's coming back for them.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're getting a lot of either like retribution or payback in some kind of
the things that were set up in the first few seasons are really getting the payoff now.
And so maybe with Jaime freeing Tyrion, Tyrion's gonna have to free Jaime. This will be the second time he's been captured.
Well, think about it this way. Here's more of my poetic. Think of it this way. Yeah, it would be the second. That's the only thing I thought maybe not because he'd been captured again. But think of it this way. Tyrion was going to be killed by his sister basically for something that, he didn't do. Jaime loved his brother, let him go. Because he let him go, what did Tyrion do? Killed his father and fled. So what if this one, Tyrion lets Jaime go, Tyrion gets killed because of that, now Jaime kills his sister, right? The whole, you get freed, you kill somebody, and then Jaime gets killed probably by the mountain.
I'm wondering...
I think all the Lannisters, I think this might be the end of the Lannister. I think season 6 may be the end of the Lannisters.
So, and then how's Jaime gonna die then? Just, kill himself?
He'd either kill himself or the mountain would kill him. I mean, let's be honest. If he stabs Cersei, the mountain's gonna, cut him in half.
I think if anyone has a potential to becoming a new hand, it's gonna be Jorah. Jorah, who just been cured at the grayscale. Dany said, come back to me once you're cured. Yeah. So we know he's going to play some kind of major part, or he's going to take over, on the military standpoint.
Well, what do you think? And this is kind of off the subject of the dragons and Jaime and them. But what do you think about? So there's a possibility floating around. So Cersei brings up the Golden Company in this, and this is about the third time I think in the series it's been brought up. Now, I had to read up on the Golden Company because I haven't read the books, but apparently the Golden Company is about 10,000 strong mercenaries who are some of the best fighters in the world. Who if you have enough money, you can pay them and they'll fight for you. So she brought up to the Iron Bank basically, hey, our debts are going to be paid, and maybe you guys can work with us. And they're like, well, yeah, we'll work with you. What do you want to do? And she's like, well, maybe I'll get some money and hire the Golden Company. Well, apparently in the book, or early this season, Jorah had said that he had worked for the Golden Company. So I'm wondering if Jorah is somehow going to be integral into maybe stopping the Golden Company or playing a part to that.
I don't want to give away a major plot point in the book.
Okay, well, this is full spoilers. I know what he's going to give away. So, guys, if you don't want to know anything about the books, turn away. But in the books, what Ryan's alluding to is there happens to be a possible another Targaryen who is a part of the Golden Company. They're not going to introduce that in the TV show, or it's just too close to the end for them to bring that up.
Yeah, so I think maybe they could just get rid of the whole Targaryen thing.
Yeah. And
have the Golden Company, but then, I don't know.
They brought him up too much. The Golden Company is going to play a role in the finale of this series, or at least the finale of the Lannisters.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would make sense as, because of the gold aspect and... what better way to have the Lannister buff himself up than with the Golden Company?
Yeah. Well, I just think I think it's a little anticlimactic for her to have Jorah just immediately next week show up and be like, Denari, I'm back. I'm cured. I'm here. He's done that. I feel like Jorah has a big part to play in this still, but I don't feel it's directly with being with Denari. I think it's going to be showing up at the end, maybe in the final season, maybe with the Golden Company, but. I don't know.
I think the Golden Company seems like too much of a cop-out. That it's like, hey, we need another army because everyone's dead.
At the speed at which this show's going, though, that could be just hey, let's just do it so we have another army to fight somebody. Because the Lannisters need some help at this point.
Yeah, definitely. If they got any more dragons coming in.
Well, and next week it looks like Daenerys is making all the remaining Tarleys swear allegiance, or they're going to be burnt or eaten. So,
yeah. I didn't watch the next episode.
Oh, you didn't? All right. Well, we won't talk too much about that then. Well, do you have anything else? Any final thoughts before we move on of that unbelievably epic? I mean, we've already spent 30 minutes talking about it. That's how great it was. But
yeah, we've almost as long as the whole episode.
Come on.
I'm gonna say if that was just one dragon. I can't wait to see what 3 dragons are fighting at once.
Jon Snow is going to ride Rhaegar, his father, the dragon. That's going to happen. I'm calling that shit.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yes, that's his father. It's going to happen. All right, so speaking of Jon, A few things happen over Dragonstone that we will talk about. We won't spend too much time talking about because we've still got a bunch of things to cover. But Jon and Dany, so a lot of people have wondered what were they going to do with Jon and Dany. Were they going to try and make them romantic? Was it going to be... Well, after this episode, you can clearly see that they are trying to turn Jon and Dany into a thing, right? I mean, that's clearly obvious, right?
Yeah, and Jon hired a 6-year-old and gave him some white chalk and said, "Hey, kid.
Oh, God.
Go draw some scary stuff in that cave."
Okay, so before we talk about Jon and Daenerys maybe knocking boots at some point, I like the cave for what it was, but that was like the super. It's like the super. I don't know what you call it, like the super convenient plot fixer cave.
Oh, hey, we were just about to mine all this dragon glass, and look what we found.
Just happened to find this cave that's been sitting here forever that the first children made, or the first men and the children of the woods put together, that happens to show the whole story of the White Walkers and prove everything I've been telling you. So to Ryan's point, Jon came up with an elaborate ruse to hire some people to go write some shit on a wall. And Denari showed a lot of trust in Jon, number one, going, no guards. The two just went together in this dark cave.
And I think it was Chris that sent us a little cartoon. And like Jon thinking, like, how can I get her to... And then it showed, like, the next box showed him, like, drawing a bunch of pictures on a wall. And then it had her. Then he's like, oh my goodness.
Quit giving away my game plans.
You're not that
I'm the king of the North for a reason. I'm super good with the ladies.
But you won't bend the knee.
He will not bend the knee. So
he'll give you all the support, but he won't bend the knee because of pride.
So I have a theory. Here's my theory. I think this is what the show's trying to do. Jon, I couldn't understand why Jon was so reluctant to bend the knee, because all Jon really cares about is saving everyone from the White Walkers. So if he's like, in my opinion, Jon would have, like, a season ago, Jon's just like, fuck it, I'll bend the knee. Bring your dragons. Let's just kill these guys, right?
Yeah.
But this Jon is being really stubborn and saying, like, I get that his people won't respect him if he bends the knee. I understand all that, but I feel like it's more than that. And the reason why I think it's more than that is because I think Daenerys is going to get put into a spot where she needs the North. And so to make that happen, someone's going to suggest, maybe Tyrion, maybe somebody, that the best way to do this, if perhaps instead of pledging allegiance, is to have a union, which means marriage. So I think there's a scenario where these two may get married before they even fall in love or find out he's a Targaryen, to unite the two and allies to move on, which would make sense if you follow my theory last week of Sam telling the story of Game of Thrones, because then it would be the Song of Fire and Ice, which would be the song of the king and queen of Westeros who defeated Cersei and defeated the White Walkers.
Just to play into that one Maester who said you gotta spice things up, you gotta make it, you gotta add this stuff. Nobody wants to read a boring history book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this creates a little drama and tension and stuff
like I said,
that.
You're not gonna write a story about a queen and some dude who died later and who was like a bastard, right? If it's a Song of Fire and Ice, it means it is going to be the king and queen. And I think the fact that they introduced the romantic element with Davos saying, she has a good heart, and he's like, yeah, I could see you staring at it all day. And he's like, oh, there's no time for that. I mean, clearly there's an attraction. Yes, it's icky. Yes, we can say all day long how, back in the day, it's not uncommon for family members to get married. Okay, he's her nephew, she's his aunt, but I guess we're probably just going to have to get over that. And I feel like this show is squarely pairing these two up at one point to become like king and queen of Westeros.
Yeah. It's like a weird Luke and Leia thing, but at least they're not brother and sister, I guess. So
yeah, who knows? Maybe they won't bump uglies. Maybe it'll just be like king and queen in name only. She can't have babies anyway. Who knows? But I definitely feel like that this show, they did a really, like, the first episode, you couldn't really tell if there was any kind of sexual tension there. There was a little bit of weirdness between them. But this episode, there was very much an attraction between the two of them. And even the director came out and said, yeah, that was on purpose. So they're not doing that unless they're trying to set this up later as this is a partnership. Because look at the odds they've gone to show that neither one of these two are willing to bend to each other. They're both sticking strong. You have two forces that neither one of them are willing to become, like, master servant. They're both like, no, we work together or we don't work at all. And you add in the romantic element, and I know you didn't watch the preview, but there's a preview where Daenerys comes back on Dragon, and Jon Snow is just standing there, and she rides the dragon in, and he's just like, "What are you gonna do? Go ahead, light me on fire. I'm still not gonna bend the knee, right?" And then he hops on Rhaegon and just takes off. You should have watched the trailer. It was really cool.
For the next episode?
Yeah.
I like how Davos kind of had like his line. It's like, do we call you King John? No. King Snow? No. He's like trying to figure out like what to call John.
And you know what?
Like Lord Snow. Like, no, that doesn't sound right.
I know a lot of people say that Jon doesn't want to be king. That's why he'll never end up being Daenerys' husband or king of the, sit on the throne in this. But I think maybe he will, because that is his burden to bear, right? He doesn't want any of this, but it's like Jon Snow is about, I do what I have to do for the people, right? And that would be the ultimate burden for him. For him, that's the ultimate sacrifice, would becoming the king of Westeros, because he doesn't want it.
Well, how about his ultimate sacrifice is not stabbing Theon in the face the second that he saw him?
That was such a small scene, but it was so well acted by Kit Harington and even and Alfie, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Alfie got killed by John Wick.
He's just like, the only reason why you're not dead is because you saved my sister.
Well, and Kit Harington does such a good job of like not only just pure anger, but also like immense sadness. I mean, the last time he saw Theon, they left as brothers. And, Theon has done so much.
They grew up together. They trained together, they did everything together.
He betrayed his family so much, you could see it, but just the fury. But that was a great scene. But lastly, before we move on from that, I did also enjoy Daenerys asking of all the people, who did she ask for advice? She asked Jon Snow, what would you do? And not only did she ask his advice, she took it. If you look, she didn't attack villages, she didn't attack the castle. What did she do? She attacked only the men, and she destroyed all the food, which we'll see if that plays out later, basically to starve out. Now they can't just sit behind their walls in King's Landing and just wait them out. So, like I said, this show is clearly putting Jon and Daenerys together, and it's gonna happen. I mean,
it's only 3 episodes left. It's gonna happen quickly.
I think that'll be the big beginning of next season. Like I said, I'm starting to really feel like this is going to be the end of the Lannisters this season. I think this season is going to be. I think the Game of Thrones is going to end up, because I don't know. We may not even see like a union. You may see a courtship between those two. Maybe we see them become king and queen at the very end of the series. But I think this season just feels like the end is coming for the Lannisters. I mean, I don't know. That's the feeling I get. I feel like season 6 is the final arc of the Lannisters, and I think season 7 we're going to deal a lot with the White Walkers. I thought we were going to deal more with the White Walkers this season, but there's still so much to happen. I just feel that.
Well, to go back on my full circle thing, it's the Starks got fucked in the beginning, and now the Lannisters are getting fucked, and all the Starks are coming back together.
Ow!
And they're all. Most, except for Rickon, but everyone else, and
Rickon
Rob,
would be there if he knew how to run a goddamn serpentine pattern.
Go
zigzag. Fucking Ramsay, what a dick.
At least so now we got Bran, Arya, and Sansa all at Winterfell.
Yeah, that was the big. There was a lot of reunions this week, and I don't know. What was your favorite moment from Winterfell? So. There was so many good things to talk about in this. Let's kind of just roll them all into a few topics here. But what was your favorite moment in this? So there's so many good ones to choose from. Of all things that happened in Winterfell.
Of all of it, honestly, I think my favorite when Arya was fighting Brienne.
Oh my god, that was so great! What a great! First of all, I said kudos to the choreographer, the stunt guy for the fight at the end. Also, kudos to him for the fight scene between those two. It was so well choreographed.
Kudos to Macy. That was like she did the whole fucking back jump thing. Dude, I don't think she had a stunt coordinator for that.
But she had needle and she had cat's claw, and she was like she looked like a ninja.
Yeah. And
I like when Bran is like, you can't fight me with that little sword. She's like, oh, really?
Yeah. Well, and I like how Sansa, she's all like standing up there and like smiling, like, oh, Arya, she's still same old Arya, she wants to fight and do all that stuff. And then when she starts to see Arya's fucking like a boss.
Yeah.
Sansa just like immediately just goes like.
Well, I think we saw two things, too. Number one, this is the first time we've really seen Arya actually fight, like straight up fight, and you realize how far she's come, right? And second, I think Brienne of Tarth, I don't think we give her enough credit for how good of a fighter she is. Because
she's a legendary sword fighter. Like, she's, like, extremely well
maybe in the books, but in the movie, take out the Hound, and she's never really had a chance to really duke it out with people, right? I mean, that fight with the Hound was amazing. But this one was such two different styles of fighting. It was very much a knight versus a ninja, right? And I thought, Bran was taken clearly by surprise in the beginning, but by the end, neither one of them had the upper hand, which I really enjoyed that whole thing. And I really liked, honestly, Bran didn't get a lot of moments in this episode, but I love the fact when she saw both the sisters together, it was like, she had been able to fulfill Catelyn's final request to take, she may not have been able to protect them both and get them there, but they're there and she's there and she, and for her it's like she was able to do her duty, and I think that was pretty cool for her as a character.
Well, and I like how everyone's trying to get Bran to become Lord, and he's like, fuck no. He's like, I'm the three-eyed raven.
Bran, okay, so before we get to Bran, I want to talk just a quick second about the Arya Sansa reunion. I loved how they handled it. Those two were never close. And I think them like, I love you, in this massive embrace.
Yeah. Meeting in the crypt, like looking at their dad's face from, it's like, it doesn't look like him. Yeah. It's like, but like, no one left alive that could, could do it.
I think there was a couple moments in there that were really, really strong. One was the fact that Sansa hugged her, Arya didn't hug her back, but by the end of their conversation, Arya did give her a big hug. It just kind of shows, these two sisters have had so much between them that finally they're able to like come together as almost as equals, right? They're not the big sister, little sister anymore. They're two women who have had to go through some awful things, and they've come out the other end. And I also loved, and I thought it was a little bit of foreshadowing, when they said, we've had crazy stories, and then I think it was Arya who said, or Sansa said, well, our stories are not yet done, right? And I feel like to me, we talked a lot about Arya. What was her decision going to be when she ran into Nymeria? If she went to King's Landing, I think that spelled certain doom for her. But going back to be part of the pack, she would survive. And I think you're seeing that. Now she's part of the pack, and the Starks have packed back up. And I'm not saying they won't die, but I definitely think that the Starks that we see right now will make it through till the final season.
Yeah, I think as long as there's no stormtroopers, then maybe Arya and Sansa will be
all right.
I don't know. I mean, because Sansa looked kind of pissed at the end of that fight.
Yeah, I think she looked more taken back. Who looked creeped out was fucking Littlefinger. Which can we talk about Littlefinger for a second? Littlefinger's another character who I think isn't going to make it out of the season. I think he tried to weave his little magic on Bran, and Bran's just like, when Bran dropped the chaos as a ladder line to him, the look on Littlefinger's face was fucking priceless. Like, he's like, shit, he knows.
Yeah. I think I wanted to bet that Arya is going to wear Sansa's face.
Oh, and kill Littlefinger?
Littlefinger's going to do something or say something to her. And that's how...
No, you fucking nailed it. Ryan, okay, I'm going to follow this thread that you just started. Here's what's going to happen. So we got the reunion between Bran, Arya, and Sansa, and everyone realizes that Bran is Robo-Bran at this point.
Yeah.
But Bran is going to tell Arya something. So Arya is going to find out by wearing Sansa's face, tricking Littlefinger into giving up the details, and then she's going to stab him in the goddamn face with cat's claw.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to happen. That's happening this season. Bye-bye, Littlefinger, you tricky son of a bitch.
I think we figured it out, Brian.
Good. Dude, fuck yeah. That was a good one. That's hell yeah. Calling that shit. Geek Dad Report. Calling it right now. Dude, that's a good one.
Yeah, but that's how Littlefinger dies.
That's how Littlefinger... You know what? And that is the way Littlefinger should die. Trickery. But you know what? All the shit he's done, he's such a great character to the show.
That's how he's been. It's going to be the full circle thing. He's always tricked people. He's always tried to manipulate everything to his way. And just when he thinks he's manipulated everything perfectly, you're going to get fucking stabbed in the face by Arya wearing a Sansa face.
And real quick, the chaos is a ladder. A lot of people didn't catch that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, in season, I believe, 3, Littlefinger and Varys had a conversation about, where you kind of find out that Littlefinger and Varys have been kind of plotting this whole thing from day one. And I don't remember the exact conversation, but basically Varys said, chaos is a pit. And Littlefinger says, no, chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder that you can use to climb, right? And so it was a very private conversation about those two plotting to overthrow, Robert Baratheon and put in a new leader and basically kill Ned Stark. And
but so they each had their own way of doing it. They weren't working together. They each had their own plans.
Had their own way of doing it, but it was a conversation between two master manipulators. And the fact that Bran was able to quote that line right back to Littlefinger let him basically know, I know what you've done, right? So Littlefinger guarantees already plotting how to kill Bran because Bran is way too dangerous to leave you left alive. And there is something up with this cat's claw. They have introduced this dagger way too many times this season within the Valyrian book, the Valyrian steel. Do you know who this belonged to? That dagger is going to have a much bigger play. Now, I was completely wrong last week, and I predicted this week was going to be the death of Littlefinger and a few other things. But I still think this dagger has a big part to play this season. They've talked about it way too much for it not to. And like me and Ryan said, we think Littlefinger's days are numbered. Real quick before we leave, two things real quick. Bran, I thought it was a really good moment when Bran was hanging out with Mira and Mira left. I thought that was kind of a shitty way for a character who's been a big part of this story, just to all right, Bran, later.
But like she said, though, he died in that cave.
Yeah, I think that gives us a good look into where Bran is right now, where Bran talks about, I remember being Bran. He's still there, but he's had so much information loaded into his brain. The person who he is buried so deep in there that, in essence, like Mira said, he died in that cave. And so, I think that kind of foreshadows what's going to happen with his character, which I think gives more credence to him being the Lord of Light, by the way.
All right, so my prediction for what's going to happen in Winterfell next week. The Band of Brothers, not the Band of Brothers, the Brotherhood of Without Banners.
Yeah. The Hound.
So, yeah, it's the Hound, but more importantly, their blacksmith is Gendry.
Yeah.
Bastard son of Robert.
Yeah.
Bran probably knows that he is the son of Robert Baratheon.
Yeah.
And so, when the Hound and everyone gets there, Bran's going to somehow say, well, there's another king or something like that. I think Bran is going to point out that Gendry is the, he got taken by Missandra.
No, he got freed. Davos freed him on the boat. He's been rolling around in a boat for like 2 seasons.
I was confused. I was thinking of the book.
No, in the book, I do think Gendry has a part to play, and I think he's coming back because the Baratheons, even in the opening sequence, the Stag is one of the big, and House Baratheon's been demolished. So I would like to see Baratheons make a comeback. I think they could be a powerful house again at some point, maybe, but I think Gendry has a part to play, maybe later this season in season 7. But I think you're on the right path. I think the Brother Without Banners are going to show up at Winterfell, but I think Bran is going to let them know, hey, y'all need to get to Eastwatch because they're coming. And so I think you could see a little bit of a standoff. You're going to see the first sign of the White Walkers are at the wall, right? That could happen next episode. But lastly, before we leave Winterfell, I want to give a shout out to 2 of my 2 new favorite characters. And I want to see a show where these 2 just go around and do things. I don't remember their names, but the 2 guards at the gate who didn't want to let Arya in are my new MVP.
Do things horribly inept and wrong.
This season...
These are the guys that are supposed to be, bringing water, and they end up bringing in, dirt.
I love where he's like, she's like, how'd you get past the guards? She's like, you need better guards.
Yeah.
The fact that Sansa, she's shown such an aptitude to be a good leader, let those 2 idiots at the front gate. I know it was played for comedic purposes, and it was great, but Sansa, you need better guards guarding the front. But those 2 were just... This season has done such a good job of taking the no-name soldier and giving him a face that you care about, right? I actually gave a shit about those poor Lannisters getting lit on fire. I'm like, man, I wonder if one of them's Ed Sheridan getting his face melted. But...
Singing to the dragon.
But those 2 were great. So, all in all, this is one of the best episodes I've seen yet of Game of Thrones. And next to Hard Home and the Battle of the Bastards, I'm going to call it the Battle of the Reach. It might be the best fight scene I've ever seen on this show. Partially because it had medieval fight, it had like Mongolian style guerrilla warfare, and fucking dragons lighting people on fire. It was amazing.
I think so. Next week we have Eastwatch, which is where all the wildlings were sent.
Yeah.
I think Eastwatch is going to fall.
Oh man.
Somehow, and we're going to see the White Walker for the first time in thousands of years is going to be beyond the wall.
Are we going to see? Okay, I'm going to call it right now. It's a little early. Early season predictions. Season 7 is going to end with the White Walkers at Winterfell.
That's going to be some scary shit.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, do you got anything else?
No, I think we're longer than the actual episode, so...
Yeah, pretty much. We got about a minute to spare, so we'll see. But hey, we got a lot to talk about. It was really good. Whatever, I don't care. I'll talk about this shit all day long. I love Game of Thrones.
People should just listen to us and not watch the episode.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. As always, if you guys have any theories or think me and Ryan are full of absolute dragon poop, we would love to hear what you think or what you predict is going to happen for the rest of the season or beyond.
And tell us how awesome we are for coming up with how Littlefinger's going to die, because that's fucking when it works.
And if that is true, I swear to God, I will hit it up on Entertainment Weekly. I will post our clip everywhere. It's August 7th. Geek DR Report is calling it right now. So we've predicted two things: how Littlefinger's going to die, and that Bran is going to be the Lord of Light. So here you heard it first here, people. But like I said, if you got your own predictions or you want to add anything to the show, hit us up in the comments below or on our Facebook page or Twitter accounts. We'd be more than happy to interact with you guys, and we love fan theory. So let us know what you think, and as always, we'll be back next week as we talk about Eastwatch, which I'm sure will be another epic episode of Game of Thrones. So thank you for joining us, and until next week, don't get lit on fire by a big fucking dragon.
Yeah, and on Friday, we will get a new episode of the Geek Dad Report, full episode.
Yes. Ow!
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Bad! All right, on that note, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.